Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Roland Leggat, and before we started out, Tim and myself were having a bit of a hoot because this can be such an incredibly dry subject, talking about security, and that's why there's such a lack of knowledge around it, because a lot of people find it boring, and in my experience, people only start investing money in security when something goes wrong or when there's a breach. Before that, they're like, oh, no, I take that very Australian attitude, she'll be right, mate. So, we thought we'd bring out some anonymous masks or something. That was, I got these at a protest a while ago, and we thought, this is the concept that a lot of you, think your hacker's going to be. And when you see, hackers on TV or something talking about breaking into networks, this is what they look like. So, it's a very serious subject, and like I said, it can be a little bit boring. So as Tim said earlier, I worked as a technical strategist at Microsoft for quite some time and was quite involved with the launch of BPOS, which later evolved to Office 365. And about 8 years ago, I was talking to a lot of people in this room. I see a lot of familiar faces here about how I believe cloud computing would change the way that we as system integrators and our customers manage, store, and secure data. And it definitely has done that. Why I'm up here today is I believe we're at a similar point with cybersecurity and the Notifiable Data Breaches and the GDPR, and how they're going to change the way our customers collect, manage, secure, data about their customers and personally identifiable information. From a partner perspective, I believe that there's going to be a tidal wave of opportunity for everyone in this room, as the propensity to purchase cybersecurity solutions is not being mandated or orchestrated by yourself, saying, I really think you should, possibly look at securing your data a little bit more than it currently is. But this is now going to be mandated by the federal government, and the compliance is mandatory, and the repercussions if you don't comply are fairly serious. So I'm going to spend the next 30 minutes or so just going through some of the things that I've been doing over the last 6 months around cybersecurity with different organizations. My role at the moment is I'm CTO for Blink Securetech, which is a cybersecurity startup. And in that role, I work as a virtual CTO, helping a couple of organizations and our customers really with their strategy, their ISO compliance, and their roadmaps around cybersecurity. So the opportunity, I believe, is there. This stat from Ernst & Young saying that 53% of organizations have increased their cybersecurity spend this year, primarily to the regulations. I saw a thing on LinkedIn last week, actually, after I put the slide together. They said 9 out of 10 companies had increased their spend on cybersecurity. But I'd already built the slide, so we went with this one from Ernst & Young, okay? But there is, look, it's standing room only in this room today. So that shows you that this is a very high priority. In fact, it's a number one priority for most businesses today. It is the cybersecurity threat, okay? So Mick and Tony gave a couple of statistics around around cybersecurity. The 254 days until a breach is detected it's just shocking. It goes back to that story. Does anyone remember the book Hacking Exposed? Okay, a couple of you. The Hacking Exposed book, the opening of that book was, I'm ad-libbing here, but it was something along the lines of, if a tree falls, we all know if a tree falls in the forest and nobody's there to hear it, does it still make a noise? And then it went on to say, if a network has been compromised or hacked and nobody knows about it, is the network still deemed secure? And a lot of us are missing that detection and monitoring side of cybersecurity. you lock this down, we lock this down, we lock this down, and we say, has anybody tried to breach our network? I don't think so. But there's no real analytics or transparency. There's not a single pane of glass that allows you to see what systems have been compromised. Is somebody, as we said, with the cloud doesn't negate your responsibility for cybersecurity. We all know where the front door is now. Mick was saying, so people are knocking on their front door. They're scanning those ports. They want to see, if 3389, whichever ports you've opened up on that door. So it actually, the cloud kind of increases your responsibility. 60% of employees that leave an organization with company data hope to profit out of it in the long term. Now, we've all seen this. Not that anybody in this room has done this, but they're my customers. I'm taking that Excel spreadsheet with me when I leave. We have salespeople, BDMs, and that walking out with company data when they move to a competitor. And they hope in some way to profit from this. So this is another one of the things that we need to lock down, because a lot of that's the personally identifiable information, okay? 71% of cases, it's misuse of personal data. 67% of IT practitioners, this is the IT department, don't know whether people are using unsecure mobile devices on the network. We go back to what Jack was saying about mobile device management and the mobile warriors. His story of the real estate agent with all of the company details on their machine, and USBs. The horror of USBs and the amount of information that is left on USBs. Most of our breaches, however, are still down to technical error. If we look at the Equifax breach, which has probably been the most prominent in the last 12 months, 143 million Americans' personally identifiable information was compromised. It's just a shocking statistic. And those of you who, does anyone know Vader Advantage here in Australia? Okay, so some people, you would have done business with them in the same way that you would have done business with Equifax if you're in the States. If you've purchased, you're like, no, never done business with Equifax. If you've purchased anything on hire purchase or on credit, your details would have been with Vader Advantage and Equifax. And Vader actually got acquired by Equifax. So, there's not a lot of information out there. I've done some searches to find out if the Australian databases had been compromised when the American databases were compromised, but there's no information out there about the compromise. But why did the Equifax breach happen? Mission critical patches on those Linux servers that had been released over 60 days earlier weren't applied. The IT team were asleep at the wheel. Essentially, they didn't have a rigorous patch management system, and they weren't applying patches, okay? 7 out of 10 Australian companies that experienced a data breach didn't report it. And I mean, this is what happened with the Equifax thing. You saw some of the C-level executives drop shares a week before they made the announcement that they had been breached. 3 of this, they go into the big house for that, man. Really, that's insider trading, but they went and they dropped shares just prior to making the press release. So this is a lot of our ideas of what a hacker or a cyber criminal looks like. In reality, it's more like a multinational business with different departments. I was speaking to some guys who've been working with Interpol, and they shut down a cybersecurity, cyber crime firm in Ethiopia, and they said it was a 4-story building, and they had all different departments that handled payment and Bitcoin payment and, marketing departments and fraud collection departments, and there was a CEO of the cybercrime business. So it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and last year grew at 750-something%. I can't remember the exact stats, but it's growing at a massive rate. So what constitutes a breach? And this goes back to the Notifiable Data Breach and really the GDPR. So unauthorized usage or unauthorized disclosure of personally identifiable information, and it's a three-part section of the law here that is likely to cause serious harm. And then it goes on to articulate what serious harm would look like. So serious harm could be physical, psychological, emotional harm, reputationable harm that the organization that allowed the information to be breached was unable to retain or remediate. So, I mean, that's it in a nutshell, really. The leaking of personally identifiable information that's going to cause serious harm. And it's not applicable to every business. It's quite a complicated law, and not all parts of the law will be applicable to every business. But there are going to be parts of it that really are applicable to your business. So the Notifiable Data Breach and the GDPR are really going to, or causing organizations to change the way that they collect, to evaluate the data processing systems, especially critical platforms, okay? And it's going to change organizations the way that they collect and secure individuals' data. The OAIC website's got a whole bunch of information on it, and the URL I put at the bottom there is the form you've actually got to fill in the event of a breach, so that you have to notify the government. You've got to notify the customers who are whose information and PII have been compromised, and it's likely to cause them harm. Okay, so this is going to affect a lot of organizations. We generally say, organizations that have a top line revenue of over $3 million, or work in the health industry or work in the financial sector, these organizations are going to be affected. And you think, well, you got to have a top line revenue of $3 million. Yep, that'll be this sector of customers. This last weekend, some of you may know I'm quite a big yoga fan. I'm a yoga and meditation teacher. And I did a course this last weekend, and there were a whole bunch of people on this 3-day course that I did. And I suppose for the last 6 months, I've been talking to yoga teachers and massage therapists and chiropractors and that who have run a small business that definitely don't make over $3 million a year teaching yoga. Really, it's not the kind of thing that you're going to make massive amounts of money doing. You do it for the love, not for the money. But they all fall within the regulations because they are storing health data about their customers. So, anybody who's collecting tax file numbers, anybody who's providing some type of health service, acupuncturists, chiropractors, all of them fall within the scope of this notifiable data breach, because they've got all of that personally identifiable information that it can then be used, what I call high value targets, can then be used to get better information or really being used as identity theft. So this is what it's all about, really, your personal data. Think about, so let's bring it back to you and your data, because I want you to think about it on personal terms, and then it'll help you understand what your customers are going through when you, as partners or system integrators, have to secure your data for your customers. What they're going through, okay? We should all be concerned about data and data subjects. You know why? We are all data subjects. Every single one of us have a digital footprint, okay? And that it's almost like we've got a digital twin over here. Black Mirror fans in the room? Anybody? It's the geeks. Come on, must be 90% of the people in this room watch Black Mirror, okay? We'll come back to that about having your digital footprint and the trail that you leave in social media, your photographs, your location settings. Think just for a moment. The last app, everyone just take a moment. Think about the last app that you installed on your phone. Okay? What did it ask for permissions to? I want permissions to your photographs. I want permissions to your location settings. I want permissions to your microphone. Okay? This is it. You wouldn't give a total stranger access to your phone and say, yeah, no, browse through my email, browse through my photograph. Knock yourself out, Here's my phone. But somehow we think that the developer who wrote that app will not use our personal information for an evil cause. But yeah, no problem. And we just go on regardless, We're almost vacant when we go, yes, allow access to that, allow access to that, allow access to that. So we need a bit of a paradigm shift to a security mindset here, where we're thinking about security all day, every day as IT people. I sit down in restaurants, I go for lunch, I sit down in a restaurant, people next to me are talking so loud about some, business stuff. This is what social engineering is. You want to break into an organization, you can just go hang out outside the organization. And the amount of stuff that people share in the coffee shop while they're getting a coffee about secure stuff that's happening inside the company. I catch the B1, that new big yellow bus, up to Mona Vale, and there was a person talking on the bus the other day, and I was just going like, I cannot. Firstly, they were just talking like this. They were really broadcasting the whole time. Everybody else on the bus absolutely had to hear what they had to say. And they were talking about some secure thing that was going on at work, and I'm thinking, really? So this is where your mind needs to be security all the time, okay? When you're out having a coffee, when you're talking to your customers about their cybersecurity framework and their cybersecurity roadmap, it should be little whispers, okay? This is just between you and me. This is not something we're going to broadcast or broadcast so that everybody can hear about the awesome work that we're doing around cybersecurity. So think about how it affects you, how your personal data gets affected, and think about that app that you install. Because what do they use identity theft for? Why would you steal someone's identity and sell someone's identity? What is the criminal end game in stealing someone's identity? You know what one of the most common things it's used for is human trafficking and slavery. If you want to move people around, you need to give them a new identity. So even if you think about, I've got massive concerns for my customers' data. Also have massive concerns for what that will be used for, purely from an ethical perspective. Okay? Human trafficking, if you move somebody, you need to give them a whole new digital identity. So the identities that they steal are often sold to people in that industry. So there's a very negative impact on you not securing the personally identifiable information. Okay, so the Notifiable Data Breach here, just running through this regulation, and in a moment I'm going to talk to you about what I've done with a couple of organizations around their cybersecurity roadmap in anticipation for the Notifiable Data Breach, we're now 7 days into it, and the upcoming GDPR regulation. So industries with organizations with over $3 million turnover, maximum penalties for individuals $360,000, penalties for the organization $1.8 million organizational wide. In reality, the impacts are probably going to be a lot harsher, especially for people like yourselves who are system integrators. Jack spoke about managed services, and he said, we've been talking about managed services for 20 years, and people don't really understand what they are. And people who run managed services, if we look at what happened with the Red Cross and the blood bank and the blood database for Australia, that database was being managed by a partner organization. I think it was 50 or 70 people. And one of the techs, one of our people, okay, in their infinite wisdom, decided to put that database up on an external, on a cloud service, really. They decided to put it up on an external share on a cloud service to enable functionality so some other organization could get access to it. And they just left it there. And it was not secured or locked down, So, sometimes you got friends who overshare, and I say sometimes sharing can be caring, other times sharing can be scaring, okay? And oversharing can definitely be scaring. They put this database up there, just shared it to allow functionality, and that's what we're faced with in security quite often, is this fine balance between enablement and functionality. All right? We can make it, enablement and security. Enablement and security. So I can make something very secure, and I lose that functionality or that enablement. I lose that functionality. We can lock it down. No one's got access to the file system. That's fantastic. That's very secure. Okay? Nobody can gain access to it. All right? Alternatively, we go the other way, where somebody says, I can't do this. And then we just say, all right, what I'll do is I'll give you admin credentials. So everybody's got access to it. That's awesome. We can all do what we want with it. But at that point, we've given away the farm. So your job as cybersecurity analysts, advisors, or trusted advisors is to balance functionality versus security. Okay? So you've got to get in there and you've got to do that balance between the functionality and security. So trends for 2018, really, focus on the high-value target. So this personally identifiable information. The sophistication of attacking techniques where the ransomware is morphing. Some of the ransomware was morphing every 20 seconds and changing the signature of the ransomware. So it was like this constant zero-day attack. Systems that look for only known viruses or known threats are totally bypassed by this constant morphing or changing using artificial intelligence and machine learning. So we on the defense have to use artificial intelligence and machine learning to protect ourselves against that. Breaches without borders. Now what we're starting to see is better reporting around breaches, and it's mainly because of legislation like the Notifiable Data Breach. We have to report that we were breached. Otherwise, that statistic about 7 out of 10 companies are not reporting when there's been a security breach. And need for security basics, that security mindset needs to be drilled in at a customer level. So we need to have people, training over and over again, security awareness training. So let's talk a little bit about the NIST Framework. So the NIST Framework is really is made up of the core framework, the implementation framework, and then the policy side of the framework. So it's 3 parts. But it's really for improving critical infrastructure around cybersecurity. So when looking at doing our cybersecurity roadmap for some of these organizations we've been working with, we took these 5 pillars outlined by NIST. Okay, so that's identify, protect, detect, response, and then recover. And took those and applied that to the organization. Not all parts of the framework or even the core framework, which is one of the 3 parts, are going to be applicable to every organization. You need to break the organization down into different security domains. So we're talking about physical security, group policies, information security, okay, mobile security, patch management, change release, incident management. So we ended up breaking it down for one of the larger not-for-profits into 19 different security domains. And then on each of those security domains, we had to go through and identify the risk. So do a full risk assessment. Is it a low business impact, medium business impact, or a high business impact? If that system gets breached, what is the impact for that business unit or for the organization as a whole? Protect everything. Okay, Mick was saying it's not just about endpoint protection. Security is really about these different layers where we're going to find the right solution or the right piece of technology, process, or people training for that particular tenant or domain of security. Okay, detect, intrusion detection systems, the ability to monitor all of your systems and actually know when you've been breached. The tree falling in the forest scenario. Does it really make a noise? Respond, set up a response plan, test the response plan, set up a team with different roles and responsibilities, and then recover. How do we return to business as usual? So there's some proactive things that we've got to do, and then there's some reactive things that we've got to do. No security vendor is going to tell you that it is impossible to break into their system. It's a big call, impossible. Okay? Like what I say to people sometimes, I say, it'll protect this much and this. And I say, so what I'm not hearing from you is the word impossible. And it's just a bit of a test, because as soon as they say it's impossible to break into our system, then I lose a little bit of faith in them, because if you've got enough time and money to throw at it, I don't think it's impossible. Okay? So 10 steps we took with one of these organizations. Detect. So this is a full risk assessment, going through all of those 19 security domains, finding out where PII is in the organization. This is a lot of face-to-face interviewing. So Rupert, you've been at the company for 18 years. Would you like to talk to me about what CRM system you used prior to this? Where is that information sitting? And, it could be sitting on an Access database on a file share somewhere. So really go through, interview people in the organization, especially people with long tenure, track down all the personally identifiable information. Endpoint protection, something with the sandboxing environment that opens up those business email compromise threats, that opens up ransomware or malware, okay, in a sandbox, and says, whoa, this is going to horribly mess up things if I let you run this, okay? And then and then straight away puts it into a quarantine system. Again with Protect, I put on their security awareness training. People are still our weakest link in security. All right? So Jack was saying how somebody in their organization just clicked on the link and, oh yeah, no, that's at my itinerary. Fantastic. I'm not even going on holiday, but somebody wants to post my itinerary to me. That leads into the next one we did, which was phishing attacks. Once you've educated your staff about what the dangers are, you can then look at doing a phishing attack against your own staff. So I put the URL in there, because you don't always have to pay for things. This is a trend site that allows you to punch in 200 SMTP addresses, and I love it. It sends like 3 o'clock on a Friday afternoon. This is so Australian. A Dan Murphy email, $50 voucher this weekend if you click on this link. People are like, fantastic, free beer this weekend, happy days. Click. That gets everybody. They think it's free grog this weekend. They got these awesome templates, LinkedIn email invites, Stephen would like to be your friend on LinkedIn. Oh, sweet, I like Stephen. Click on that. Boom. Okay, and then there's just-in-time learning, because you can then customize it to come back with an email straight away. You've just been a victim of a phishing attack orchestrated by your IT department. Next time, look out for this, and this. It is proven to be the most effective end-user training method. To use things like phishing, ransomware is, when we look at trends, that is the low-hanging, high-yielding fruit for cyber criminals. Okay? There's a trend for 2018. Ransomware is going to continue to be that. So, for me, this phishing attack, it is proof that this is the most effective way of training your staff about the dangers around cybersecurity. Patch management, rigorous patch management with skilled staff. Okay? So it's finding IT staff that have that security consciousness. They've got that security awareness going on in their mind. Patch, have a rigorous patch management system. So that's what we did in this organization. Detect, monitor logs, intrusion detection systems, anything you can monitor. Set up some type of monitoring system. Even so far as who uses Secure Score in Office 365 for their customers. Okay? A couple of you? All right? Look at Secure Score on your individual Office 365 tenants if you're not using it already. What it does is it gives you a rating. You can get up to like 450. Your current Office 365 tenant has been configured with a rating of 127. Organizations that fall into your vertical and are of the same size have got a current security rating on average of 72. Okay? And then it'll say to you, right, you want to increase your security rating? Let's get less than 5 global administrators. That'll give you an additional 10 or 15 points. Let's set up multi-factor authentication for those administrators. That'll give you additional this many points. And you look at your current state and then your desired state. And the secure score goes through and gives you a bunch of steps that you can take to move from your current state through to your desired state. Again, with detect, do some penetration testing. If you or your customers get some security solutions in play, okay, then what we're going to do, if you've got somebody to do some cybersecurity for you, get the second person who tendered. So you put out an expression of interest or an RFP, and one of the partners or customers is going, or one of the partners is going to win the deal. Whoever came second, get them to check the work of the people who came first into the solution. So it goes back to who's watching the watchers. Have somebody else come in. You know, we've done all of this migration, we've hardened all of these servers. Get the people who didn't win the deal to come in and check the people who won the deal's work. All right, that's just because they'll do it properly. You can't get the guys who did the implementation to check their own work, and that's what people do. Is it secure? Yeah, we did it. It's secure. There's a breach. 321. StorageCraft and Jack was talking about how they use the 321 methodology for backing up. And again, even if it's in the cloud, you have to back it up. Set up a response team. So this is retroactively. All right, there's been a breach. How do we respond? How do we recover? Who's going to fill in the form for the government? Who is going to talk to the press? What are they going to say? So there's roles and responsibilities for everybody in that team. Identify the people, put the telephone numbers in there. This is going to happen at 2 o'clock on a Saturday morning that you're going to find out that there was a breach. How are you going to go to the press? How are you going to go to your customers? Who is going to look at the impact of the breach itself? And then cyber insurance. So I'm seeing a lot of organizations now starting to purchase cyber insurance, and I was working with some accountants, and there was a great story there. The guys purchased the insurance at like 4. They paid for the insurance at 4 o'clock on a Tuesday afternoon. It came into play on a Tuesday afternoon. The next evening, on like Wednesday night, they had a breach, and then they ended up paying 76,000 or something worth of services from an IT company to recover and remediate the breach. So in some cases, if you guys are selling cyber or you're referring your customers to cyber insurance, that could end up paying for the work that you need to do to recover from it. So it's not a bad thing, and I think it's very much from a partner perspective. Would you like fries with that? Insofar as everybody's going to need cyber insurance. 63% of Australians said if organizations didn't look after their personally identifiable information, that they would never do business with them again. 91% of Australians polled said that they would or they would consider taking legal action against an organization that failed to secure their personally identifiable information. 91% of Australians would consider taking a class action suit against the organization. So, as Mick said, it's the right tool for the right job. I just love this image, because if the only tool you've got is a hammer, everything starts to look like a nail. Okay? So, don't try and say, well, we bought this tool, that's going to fix this, and this. No. Okay? A simple piece of technology is not going to mitigate all of your risks. This is going to be a people, process, and technology issue, and the right piece of technology for the right job. So make sure you talk to the Data guys. You talk to Tim, you talk to a trend StorageCraft, and you have got the defense in depth. I know some of you think it's a data term, but we've got defense in depth. We've got multiple layers of security to secure all of our data. Because things like the cloud, Exchange Online Protection, which I'll loop back to my introduction here and what Tim said right in the beginning, is that I used to work for Microsoft, and in that role, I've convinced many people in the room to move to Office 365 and start doing stuff around cloud computing. And it turns out it was the right way to go. But now I get people saying to me, Roland, you told me to do this cloud computing stuff, and now you want me to wrap additional layers of security around it. I thought one of the deals was that it was uber secure in the first place. Exchange Online Protection is only going to really detect 10% of known threats, okay? Because 90% of malware is used only once. It's very targeted malware. And that would be like me saying to you, you've got a smoke detector in your house, and it's okay because it'll detect 10% of fires in your house. Okay? You'll be like, what? 10%? So when 90% of the fires it's not going to detect. Yeah, that's right. And you still buy the smoke detector and don't think you need an additional layer of security. So cloud security, if anything, increases your risk, not that it increases your risk. There's something that it's amazing for. It doesn't relinquish you of responsibility for securing that data. So one of the things to look out for is Cloud Access Security Brokers, or CASPs. These are guys who are going to act as a portal for managing your access to cloud services. So they really sit in between the end user using the cloud services and the cloud services themselves. And they'll monitor all cloud activity. So there's a couple of vendors who are bringing out CASBs. So the CASBs are, I think, a trend that we're going to see evolve over the next few years. I know Symantec has just acquired a CASB from the United States, and this is a trend that we're going to be looking at over the next few years. So ransomware rose 6,000% in 2016, and really I want you to think about ransomware and security, or dealing with ransomware and your security, or your cybersecurity, as a three-legged stool. So let's say the three-legged stool was people, process, and technology. They're all links in a chain. And in the same way, if you had a three-legged stool and you didn't put equal importance on people, processes, and technology, the stool would be uneven, okay? And it wouldn't be balanced. So when you look at your cybersecurity portfolio and how to secure your customers, we spoke a lot about the technology side of the solution today. But equally as important, like that three-legged stool, it's got to be around people and process. They're right up at the top there. Technology I put down at the bottom. Because securing the modern workplace, if you don't have the right training for people, you don't have the right processes to follow from a protection perspective or a respond and recover perspective, it's going to fall down. So the framework really, again, is, identify all the risks inside each of your customers' environments, okay? Protect them. To protect them will be the technology and the training, okay? Monitor them. Make sure you know when a breach has occurred, okay? Respond, which is a lot about the process side of things. Responding, has a little to do with the technology. The recovery and returning business to user has definitely to do with the technology and using your backups to restore BAU. So, those are your 5 things. And it comes back to putting equal weight on all 3 of these, the people, process, and the technology. So, guys, you are all leaders in this room, and you leaders because there's a lot of people who don't know about the cybersecurity issues that are coming up or the new regulation changes, and everybody in this room is trying to take a role as a leader, because, leaders don't require job titles or big salaries, okay? Leaders just require one thing, and that's followers, okay? So all of you are leaders in this room, and as leaders, you are on this journey to self-awareness. You're looking at yourself, you're looking at other awareness, how you can lead others. It's conscious leadership in that. So as leaders, you're looking at yourselves, and you're doing self-analysis, and in the same way, you need to be doing security analysis alongside with it. So self-awareness and security awareness. Okay? So you've got to be aware of others and bring all of these aspects together, really, the people, process, and the technology, to have a holistic approach to security, so you can have a proactive and a reactive response to any breaches inside your organizations or your customers' organizations. So the opportunity is there for you to work with customers, go and can consult and advise customers. Lots of stuff on the internet. Talk to Tim, talk to the guys at Trend, the guys at StorageCraft around your solutions. There is so much work out there at the moment that, as I said in the beginning, I think this creates a tidal wave of opportunities for partners that are willing to be leaders in this field of cybersecurity. So that's me. I'm done for time. Thank you very much. It's been an honor talking to you today.